Welcome back to The Real Story. Today's next segment brings us to California, a remarkably beautiful place where common sense goes to take a beat down, a whooping, if you will. So a new law in the state, AB 495, which was introduced by CA Assemblywoman Celeste Rodriguez, has sparked major debate and even protests, and it's completely understandable as to why. Deceptively named the Family Preparedness Plan Act of 2025, this bill is racing toward Governor Gavin Newsom's desk right now, and it represents a radical measure that lets any vague caregiver, and by caregiver they want you to think of relatives or mentors, but in reality it's more like cartel traffickers or convicted sex offenders, sign this flimsy affidavit to enroll your kid in school or approve their medical care plans, saying sayonara to parental consent, background checks, or even something like photo ID. So with this new law, becoming a child's caregiver is even easier than buying a lotto ticket. Interestingly though, one of our next guests today, investigative journalist Audra Morgan, was on the ground at a rally in San Diego, California on Tuesday to oppose the new measure. And here's what one school board member had to say about it.
What do you find so egregious about this bill?
Well, that's the simplicity of it, that you bring a form that redefines what a caregiver is, and somebody signs it who the parent doesn't have to approve, and they can take the kid. I mean, that's horrible. I mean, no ID, no proof, no notary, nothing. Just, you bring the form, the kid's got to go.
So it's not family support, it's a fast lane for exploitation. In fact, legal experts aptly dubbed it a human trafficker, pedophile, and kidnapper's dream come true, stripping safeguards from California's Education Code 234.7. And because of that fact, we had a senile hermit running the country who decided we didn't need a border. DHS's own Inspector General reports that over 320,000 unaccompanied minors unaccounted for from 2019 to 2023, many vanishing into shadows of trafficking. Why dangle this loophole? Now, Rodriguez's FAQ swears no custody grab, but skeptics see a whole lot of spin. One forged social security or Medi-Cal number, and poof, parental rights just evaporate, just like that, right into thin air. Now, Newsom, who wants to be president of the United States more than anybody else on earth, very obviously, is facing intense opposition, with concerned Californians begging him to veto the bill or own the fallout, because anybody outside of the bubble of progressive Sacramento politics can see the danger of it. And one would think that would be more than enough to get him to veto the legislation, but apparently not. Recall, this is the same exact administration that locked Californians inside their homes, shut down their schools and their businesses, even their beaches, arrested people for gathering to worship, and then praised people who peacefully rioted in the streets while destroying public property. It's also the same administration that tried to protect people who threw cinder blocks at police officers in Los Angeles County to express their opposition to immigration raids. So for those who think that Gavin Newsom is going to save the day, think again. This bill is an attack on common sense and decency, and it's being promoted with a thin veil of compassion, when in reality, it's the opposite. And on another note, by the way, this isn't the only national subject of debate in the Golden State. On the electoral front, Newsom's Dems are scheming a mid-decade redistricting heist via special fall ballot, sidestepping the independent commission to gerrymander 5 GOP seats into oblivion. Like morphing Rep. Kevin Kiley's Trump +4 district to Harris +10. Or turning Rep. Doug LaMalfa's red rural turf Harris +10 by swallowing the city of Santa Rosa. Toss-ups loom for Rep. Darrell Issa and David Villado, while Rep. Kevin Calvert's spots flip to a Latino-majority Blue Haven. But hypocrisy alert, Texas Republicans, under pressure from President Trump, are mirroring the play post-Dem walkout, redrawing to flip 5 Dem seats, bolstering Houston's 9th with Liberty County, or shielding El Paso strongholds. But Cali's crying foul while rigging, all while Texas calls it fair turnabout. Now, Pastor Jack Hibbs rallied hundreds at Sacramento's capital, thundering this as California's most dangerous bill ever. In fact, he said, "Grab your kid and leave." Meanwhile, other concerned Californians have rallied across the state to express their disgust for a bill that would do nothing but put children in the crosshairs of the most dangerous people on earth. Now, Audra Morgan is an independent journalist She was on the ground at one of the rallies against the insane pro-human trafficking law. And then Joe Patterson, a Republican assemblyman serving California's 5th District, is here as well. And he's one of the very few voices of sanity left in California's legislature. And they join us both. So I have to say thank you for being here today. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So, Joe, I want to start with the obvious question in the room behind this bill that California is trying to pass. Why? What is the real intention here?
I mean, there are multiple intentions. One is, as long as I've been a legislator, which has just been about 2.5 years, there have been multiple bills to try to strip parents of their rights. And basically from cradle to grave, the government dictating exactly what needs to happen with children and the elderly as well, and take away all individual freedom. But in addition to that, the state of California, especially since Trump has been reelected, has done nothing substantive except to challenge Donald Trump every step of the way. Instead of finding ways to work with him to address issues in California, they want to fight him. And this bill is about mythical raids that ICE is doing in schools, which, by the way, I'm not hearing ICE ripping kids out of classrooms. And so it's just one of those overreactions to something that's not occurring because the Democratic Party is content with sowing fear in our communities. Whatever happened to the party of hope?
Yeah, seriously. Well, and that's really what a lot of people are wondering. So, not to be ironic here, but I do want to ask you, what happened to the Democrat Party? Because it seems like they've gone out the deep end, and I'm really trying to figure out why and how that happened.
I mean, I asked this question actually on my X account the other day, is what does the Democratic Party stand for that doesn't involve Donald Trump? They have no policies. They have no background, or they have no backbone either, but they really have nothing that they stand for except for opposing Donald Trump every step of the way.
Okay, understood. We'll have to see what happens then when Donald Trump is out of the political scene, because I think that party is just headed for collapse, maybe even extinction. I don't know, Joe. But Audra, I do want to pivot now to you because you've been on the ground, you've seen the fierce opposition to this bill, and I want to get your thoughts about what you're hearing from people in the state of California about it.
Yes, people are very concerned. Parents are concerned, even people that don't have children in school right now, but they know people who have children or did have children and just know how egregious this is and what this leads to, which could potentially be, human trafficking, child exploitation, so many things. And they're just concerned because, just to go on school ground, they need to have all of these checks be done. They need an ID. If they're going to be doing anything for the school, they have to be able to go through a background check. And for somebody to be able to come onto school grounds and take their child or a child that they know, or any child for that matter, without any kind of background check, any kind of checks and balances, accountability as to who this is going to, where they're going to go, it leaves room for a lot of, fear that parents are going to take their kids to school one day and come back and they're not going to be there to pick them up. They feel like there's an attack on children happening, which is very true. If you can see all of the bills and the things that come forward, and the fact that it has to do with illegal immigrant families, and if a parent's going to be deported or they're being detained, but it's so ambiguous. It doesn't say that those are the only children that could potentially be have an affidavit submitted for them. So they need to start doing things that are going to be putting measures in place that will protect their children and not allow this to happen. And so they're talking about doing things like that, like submitting their own affidavit that will say that only these people can take my child, or nobody can take my child but me. And just the affidavit is so kind of juvenile and elementary. It's pretty ridiculous that it can be used for such a huge thing, to take a child and do whatever you want with them. Basically, it doesn't have to do with just changing their education and what they're going to be learning in school. You could give them a medical treatment like they're trying to do with all of this transgender affirming care. You could have them go get an abortion, which they can already do at school. So it's kind of, it's just another level of encroaching upon the children and really just having an attack on them.
It is, and it's even worse than that. Just think of all the problems Californians are facing: crime, corruption, the cost of living, the fallout from the wildfires, falling apart infrastructure, just drugs and graffiti and garbage all over the place. And of all the issues that Californians are facing, this is what Gavin Newsom is spending his time doing, in addition to trying to stonewall the Trump administration. It speaks volumes about this guy. Clearly, this clown wants to be president one day, and he thinks this is the way to climb the ranks of the Democrat Party. But it speaks volumes about who he really is and his ultimate priority. And I think it's a complete betrayal of the good-hearted people of California who want better and who deserve better. So unfortunately, we are out of time for today, but I want to thank you both for your time and for your insights into this critical issue, truly.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Coming up next, are climate change activists waging a national lawfare campaign to influence thousands of judges all over the country? That's what our next guest today believes, and he's got all the key information for us up next. So stay tuned for more details after the break.